booklet. If you don't have a booklet, we can get you one. Does everybody have a booklet? This should be study number 7, part 7. Supplemental study, part number 7. Only one left. Okay. There's no more back in the pigeonholes? No. We can print more if we need them. Does anybody need one? We're on part number 7, supplement study. Okay. We can print another one. I've got it saved on the computer. It's just a matter of pressing print. Okay. Well, the subject of the pastor and the deacon, the two church offices. Yes, there is more. If you need one, hand up. Okay. We lose them? Should only be up to where we are. Page 13. Unless it's just a different one. It could be the wrong one. All right. Page number 13 in the booklet there. And talking about the subject, 2 church offices. We're talking in the supplemental study, the two church offices. Okay, so we've already talked about the fact that there are many offices in the church. Every one of us that's saved has an office. But we don't all occupy the same office. And God has 2 special offices that He's drawn out of that group of people, the office of the pastor and the office of the deacon. Those are the 2 continuing offices that do 2 things. Who remembers what 2 things, what 2 functions are filled in the church from the office of pastor and office of deacon? There's 2 functions. Yes, Russ? Teaching and preaching is one. It's a combination of one. There's 2 things that are filled. Said in every organization, like a church or otherwise, there are 2 things that need to have. It needs to have leadership and leadership. What does a deacon do? What is there? There's 2. It's in your books, by the way. I just want to see if we're actually taking it in. It's in the beginning of your book. They do 2 things. There's 2 things that every group needs. Leadership and service. It needs leadership and service. So it needs someone. You guys had an unfair advantage. You weren't here. I'm really disappointed to know you didn't go back and listen. It needs leadership. We are, but I'm just reviewing. Yes. And it needs a service. It needs someone to serve. Because every organization, whatever it is, and I realize that we are an organism more than an organization, because we're alive as a church, but every organization needs someone to serve because it's got people in it. There's always going to be a need for service. There's always going to be a need for somebody to step up and look after the needs of others. Okay? So it needs leadership. That's the pastor. It needs service. That's the deacon. All right. Now, there are functions that the pastor fills. As the pastor, the title of the pastor encapsulates a lot. We're looking at those fulfillings. Elder, preacher, bishop, and teacher. And we're on the last one now. Shepherd. He's a shepherd. Okay, so we should be together now. Page number 13. The shepherd. Yes. Yes, well, that's right. It will be, but the title is shepherd. As we've already seen, the title pastor comes from the same word for shepherd. By definition, a shepherd is one that has the care of the flocks and herds. Okay, so the bottom of page 13 is shepherd. He has the care of the flocks and the herds. The flock of the New Testament shepherd is the local church. The body of Christ is Jesus Christ's herd. Okay, that's his flock. That's what he talked about in John chapter 10, remember? Don't be afraid to talk back to me. It helps me to know that we're doing okay. In John chapter 10, he's got sheep of another pasture. He's got a flock. He said he's got this flock. He's got another flock that he's going to go find and bring them in. That's partly us, Gentiles. And so that's his flock. Top of page 14, shepherds do these things. They lead, feed, guard, and correct their sheep. Lead, feed, guard, and correct. They study. They study their sheep and learn as much about them as they're able. Now this is in normal shepherding. So we just take these are types, they're figures for the shepherd of the church to study his people and to see what they're all about. As we say, what makes them tick? What personality types are they? How do they respond to certain things? I'm a little bit slower learner, but I'm getting it. But I mean that. I understand now. There's many times, and again, I'm just being transparent. There's many times I'm thinking about something coming up or something needing done, and as I think about different people, I say, no, that doesn't suit them. Their personality is probably not cut for that. They're better over on this, but this person, and so I'm studying personalities. I'm studying responses to things. You might have some bad news to give out that I need to share with the church, and I know that I need to share it with one or two individuals first, because I know they'll respond the way we need to respond, and then together we can sort of get that out with the main congregation. That's normal shepherding, no matter whether you're talking regular sheep in the field or whether you're talking sheep in the local church. That's the way it works. All right, on page 14, as a shepherd, the pastor will model himself after the Lord Jesus Christ, who is called the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd. So let's go together to John chapter number 10. John chapter number 10. John chapter number 10 and 11 through verse 16. John 10 verse 11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. But he that is an hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep, and fleeth, and the wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep. The hireling fleeth because he is an hireling, and careth not for the sheep. In other words, for him it's just money. I am the good shepherd, and I know my sheep, and am known of them. And known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. So as a pastor, he's going to model himself after Jesus Christ. And that just makes good sense. I mean, we talk about the Bible being a book of principles and precepts. That's what we should be doing, is modeling ourselves after those things that we find in the Word of God. And so a pastor is going to take this and look at it, and the first thing he's going to do in verse number 11, and this will be your blank in this section, is give. He's going to give his life for the sheep. He will give his life for the sheep. Verse 11 again, I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. Now this shepherd, Jesus Christ, laid down his life in death. That was his giving of his life. Obviously, that's not required of us right now. Maybe one day. There's plenty of pastors that have laid down physically their life for their people, particularly in countries where it's just against the law to be a Christian. There's plenty of stories. If you don't know of any, let me know, and I'll make sure and let you know what they are. Plenty of pastors have laid down their life physically to spare the life of their flock. But probably in a more practical sense is the fact that the pastor, his whole life is consumed with the church. As the pastor, I can just tell you that. And you talk to any pastor who really cares about what he's doing, he thinks about the church every day. He thinks about the people of the church every day. He's thinking about them. He's thinking about what the needs are. He's thinking about what the complications of things are. He is constantly thinking about the church. There's not a day that goes by. I was talking to my father-in-law, who is not pastoring anymore, but we were talking about the fact that not a day goes by that we don't meditate on what's needed, what should be coming up, what do we need to do, what comes next. We don't mentally take a break from that. Every decision I make in life, every decision always involves the life of this local church. For instance, I don't take a holiday without thinking about all of the dynamics of me being away. What needs to take place and what's the best, who's going to be best filling this spot and that spot, who's going to be able to guide this and who's going to be able to look after that. Why? Because we care enough about the church that we're pastoring, that we've been put over, to say, it's not a job, okay? It's not just a 24-hour, it is a 24-hour job. It's not just a job that you go to from 9 to 5 and you walk away and you go home and watch television and you blank it out. It doesn't work that way. I'm saying that the shepherd of a local church is going to give his life for the sheep. And I'm just telling you that as your pastor, that's exactly the way it is for me. I think about you guys every single day. If I'm not here, I'm thinking about you. I'm praying about you. I'm trying to give my life for you. Verses 12 and 13, again, let's just read them and I'll give you the blank. But he that is an hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep and fleeth. And the wolf catcheth them and scattereth the sheep. The hireling fleeth because he is an hireling and careth not for the sheep. The next blank about patterning after Jesus Christ is this: the shepherd will protect and care for his sheep. He will protect and care for his sheep. You know, wolves hang around. Wolves like sheep. And so they'll come around. They'll come around to church. And I'm telling you, we've had them come. In the 2 years I've been here, we've had a couple of them come through. Wolves. And they come around, they hang around, and they're looking for the weak. They're looking for somebody that they can just get them alone. Maybe talk to them. Start enticing them one direction or another. Sometimes there's wolves that have been in a church since its inception. And they wait and wait and wait. Wolves are very patient. And they will wait. There's a reason that the Bible calls them evening wolves, because they will hang around until evening time to do their dirty work. Okay? And Paul said when he left the church in Ephesus, remember in Acts chapter number 20, he said, I know that there's going to be wolves that will come from among you. So there's wolves that hang out in a church. There's wolves that hang around a church. And the shepherd, if he's doing his job, will not only give his life, but he'll protect him. He's willing to confront the wolf, flush him out. He's willing and should be caring. He's caring for those sheep, and he spiritually cares for them. Sometimes the pastor will preach a message because he sees that there's the need in the life of 1 or 2 or 3 people in the church, and then it ends up that there was more than that he didn't even know of. But he'll identify needs in your life, and he'll preach and teach on those subjects. I'm going to be very candid with you. All right? You can handle that? One of the reasons for doing this discipleship was that the more I talked, and remember this has been going on now for 16 months, so after about a year of being here, I thought, you know what, there are some very basic things that have either never been taught, or we just don't understand them. We need to go back and do it slowly. So for those who may say, why does this take so painfully long? There you go. Because we needed to slowly walk through this and talk about these things and make sure that as the adults of the church that we had an understanding of these things. What is that? That's the shepherd caring for the sheep. He sees the need and he takes care of it. Now, I don't think anybody thinks this, but if you should go away saying, he sure thinks a lot of himself, no, I don't. I'm just being candid with you, okay? Verse number 14. I am the good shepherd. And I'm trying to do my job right, incidentally. That's not in verse 14. That little prepositional phrase there, that was just me. I am the good shepherd. I'm trying to do my job. Verse number 14. Just checking. I am the good shepherd and know my sheep and am known of mine. So the third thing there is that the shepherd will know the sheep and allow them to know him. He will know the sheep and allow them to know him. So he'll be real. He'll be open. He'll get near them. There was this thing years ago amongst pastors. They said you need to keep the mystique. As a pastor, you need to have some mystique about you that people just, you're a bit of a mystery. You know, people can't get too close to you. Just, what is he really like? And that's the mystique mistake. Okay? Because you guys need to know what we're really like. You need to get around us and know that we're the real deal as well, that we struggle with the same things. You know, that we ask the same questions. That sometimes we sit and think about our Bibles and we say, I don't know what that means. I still don't know what that means. I don't know how to use that. I'm just saying that they need to know him and he needs to know them. So that means that you got to spend time together. It can't, if this is all we get, this is not going to work. Okay? We need time together. We need to have coffee together. We need to have meals together. We need to go camping together. We need to go golfing together. More men need to take me out for steak. I am kidding. What I'm saying is that the time together is what helps us to know each other. And then being candid with each other as well, incidentally. To be able to sit down over a coffee or a meal and say, Pastor, I'm struggling with something in my life. Can I share that with you? And know that you can trust him enough that he'll take it on board, give you something to help you, and not use it against you. That's caring, that's knowing. Last one, verse number 16. Other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. He seeks to add to the flock. And that's your last blank. Seek to add to the flock. He will seek to add to the flock. He's not content just to have, we four, no more. It's got to be a few more than four. I feel like Dr. Seuss. But he's always looking for more. He's always looking for an opportunity to reach more people. Now, the qualifications for holding the office. There are two main passages that outline what we often term the qualifications of a pastor. And those two passages are 1 Timothy 3 and Titus chapter number 1. Whilst a pastor may have times in which he fails in an area, provided he does not remain that way, he's still qualified. Now I put that in there because as a young Christian it would be easy to look and say, well, wait a minute, my pastor, I've actually seen him fail in that. Does that mean he's not qualified? If he stays that way, he's not qualified. But if he's correcting himself, yeah, he's qualified. However, God has given a high standard. Should be your blank there, yes? God has given a high standard for the man who occupies the office of the pastor. And this is for good reason. He influences a lot of people. And your blank there is influences. He influences a lot of people. This past week I got a phone call from someone in another state, a long way away from here. Said, can I talk to you? Sure. Here's something that happened with our pastor a couple weeks ago, a little while back. I want to tell you about this scenario. I need to get your opinion on something. I'm not comfortable with it. So he told me the scenario. So what do you think? And I said, well, if he's going to be pastoring people, he needs to have a little more wisdom than that, I would think. That's not just a little mix-up. That's an intentional breaching of godly standard for any Christian, particularly a pastor. He said, yeah, that's what I thought too. Here's what we're thinking. Do we do this? Do we do that? Just tried to give him some thoughts and counsel, and he was using me as a sounding board. And I said, look, here's the main issue. He influences people. And if he's willing to do that in his life, I promise you, 50% of the church or more is going to do the same thing. And they're going to be justified because they watched their shepherd do it. The shepherd has a high standard. The pastor influences a lot of people. And he's got to watch his life. You know what I often hear is, I hear the pastor does this, or the pastor lives in this way, and I could never do that. You might not need to do that. And you might not need to have certain things in your life that the pastor does. He's doing it because he influences the lives of people. Now, I always teach this. No matter who you are, you need to take the highest road you can take in your life. You need to live as high and holy as you possibly can. If you ever have a question on a subject that you're not sure about, you figure out what your options are and you take the highest standard, the high road. But that applies for the pastor as well, and he's always going to take the highest road that he can because he knows that people are watching. And it might not be you, but it might be another Christian, a younger Christian or an immature Christian in the church that is keying their life off of the life of the pastor. And if he lives a certain way that may be okay, but it's a stumbling block, guaranteed those people are going to follow him and probably drop the standard even again. The pastor doesn't live. I wish I wasn't the pastor so I could teach this without feeling so uncomfortable. The pastor doesn't live the way he does to say you have to live like me. He lives the way he does if he's the right kind of man because he knows that people are watching him and he wants to make sure that he gives them the best opportunity to serve Jesus Christ. There's a high standard. He's influencing a lot of people. When we compare the two lists given, we will find that although some phrases vary between the two of 1 Timothy and Titus 1, the lists are essentially the same. Did I leave some blank for you there? No? I meant to. So we can see them. Let's go ahead and just very quickly run through them. Both lists mention blameless, both husband of one wife. One says, holding fast the word, which is very much the same as being vigilant. Both say he needs to be sober. One says he needs to be a man of good behavior. The other is a lover of good men. Very similar. Both say hospitable. One is a teacher. One says exhorter. Both say not given to wine. Both no striker. Man. Number 10, not greedy. Man. Number 11, a patient man or one who's not soon angry. Again, you can see how they correspond. Number 12, one is not a brawler. He's always looking for a fight. Well, again, similar to that is one is not self-willed. Okay, you see a correspondence there. Verse number 13, not covetous, where the other one says temperate. In other words, he's content with what he's got. He's temperate, he's satisfied, not looking for more. Just even steel, you know. Okay. Number 14, subjected children. His children obey him. Number 14 in Titus, faithful children. Number 15, he's not a novice. He's just. Now, if a novice isn't just, a novice doesn't have balance in their life. They don't know how to balance certain things. So again, I see correspondence there. Number 16, he's got a good report of those that are without. And then in Titus, he's holy. So you see that there's similarities. Now, if you look at it and you say, I don't think those compare, okay. I see similarities. And even if you wanted to break two of them up, go ahead. That just means there's more requirements to be a pastor than what I've listed there. All right, page number 16. Everybody awake? Okay. I still think that when we get these classrooms finished, we need to meet in a classroom and have coffee and donuts. Gluten-free donuts. Man, that's terrible. That must be the most dry, tasteless piece of food, a gluten-free. Have you ever had a gluten-free donut? Hey? Yeah. That's right. Is it bad? Yeah, it'd almost, if you opened your mouth when you were eating it, it'd probably just pop. Gluten-free. It's an awful way to have to live your life. Do you feel sorry for me? Yeah. We walked through. Where did we walk through? I had the kids with me yesterday. We were in the DFO yesterday. And there's a new Donut King right in the middle of the food court. I love the Donut King because you can get a cup of coffee and 2 donuts for what, like $3.50, $4? That used to be in Kingaroy. That was my meeting place. If people said, "Can we have coffee?" I will see you at Donut King. Because you get coffee and 2 donuts for whatever, you know. I can't do that anymore. Now, you know what this has to do with Sunday school? Not a thing. Top of page 16. You guys are all looking at me like, why couldn't we have a normal pastor? You get the leadership you deserve. No. Top of the page. As you can see, there's a lot to being a pastor. He's literally a gift from Jesus Christ. He's a gift. He is a gift, yeah. It's important to understand that Satan knows how important, and I've been messing around a little bit here with you. Please get this. It's important to understand that Satan knows how important the pastor is in the life of Christians, and he will do all he can to drive a wedge between you and your pastor. Do not let him have a victory in this matter. Do your best to keep a good relationship between you and your pastor. I got a phone call 2 weeks ago. I might have already told you this. And the guy said, "My name is so-and-so. I'm ringing around Australia." He could be watching right now for all I know because he's left his church. He said, "I'm ringing." Actually, he didn't tell me he was ringing around Australia. He just said, "My name is so-and-so. I wanted to ask you some questions about your church." I said, "Fire away." And he starts asking questions, pointed questions, and I answered him. And he's asking questions, "How about your children? Are your children in order?" And I said, "Well, as far as I know, but the jury's still out. I mean, they're not teenagers yet, so I don't know. Now's the easy time. It's the teen years that become the more difficult time. So I guess they're saved, if that's what you mean. And how's this? How's that? What do you believe about this? What do you believe about that? And there was just a spirit there. And I said, "Well, how about you? What's your story? Are you planning on visiting our church?" "Oh, no, I live a long way away from here." And I said, "Well, why are you asking these questions? What difference does it make to you? You're not even going to come here." "Oh, well, I left my church over some things, this, that, the other." And I know the church that he came from. He's a good man. You know what he did? He allowed Satan to put a wedge between him and his pastor. And now the pastor will never be able to satisfy that guy's desires. He will never be able to meet what he thinks is the right standard And now this man has led his family out of church, and he thinks that's spiritual. He's led him out of church. He's led his family out of church. He's ringing churches around Australia that he'll never go to so he can justify his opinion. He will take answers that I've given that may be different from his pastor, and he'll use that against his pastor. He has submitted himself to a wicked spirit. And if he is listening right now, I hope he knows exactly the way I feel about our conversation. Because it's wicked. And when we hung up the phone, I literally said, God, please don't let that man or anyone like him ever come to our church. I don't want him around. Because all they look for is to be critical and problematic in a church. They will always be right no matter what. They will always cause problems. Don't let a pastor drive a wedge. Don't let a pastor drive a wedge. Don't, and it's even funnier when I correct it, don't let Satan drive a wedge between you and your pastor. If you think that the pastor is out to get you, you need to go talk to him. Because most likely that thought is satanic. If you think the pastor's picking on you, or he's preaching against you, or he's preaching on, he's singled you out, go talk to him. I'm telling you, the thoughts are satanic. You may find the very rare occasion that a pastor's like that. And if he is, he's disqualified himself, he needs to go. But 999,999, it's a satanic thought. Jesus Christ gave pastors to the local church to help them. And most men that I know take that job seriously. And their desire is to help you and to bless you and to help you to grow and to give you something to work on in your life, reach another level. They love you. They pray for you. They fast for you. They meditate on your needs and ask God how they can meet those needs. And you ever get that thought, I'm telling you, it's a satanic thought. And you need to talk to your pastor about it and give him the opportunity to correct it. And to express his love. And show it. And illustrate it. Okay? And I'm begging you as your pastor, but I'm begging you if you go to another church, that you would give him that opportunity. Satan knows how important it is for you to have a pastor. If he can get that wedge in between you and the pastor and you and the church, you're a goner. You may think you're spiritual, but you're not. I've watched many people, and I'm not just talking about in my churches, I'm talking about other churches, many people who assume something or they think something about the pastor, and that wedge is in there, and you can just watch them slip away, slip away, slip away, slip away, and they will get off into the world, they will get off in the worst of sin, and believe that they're spiritual. And if you ask them what's the problem, it almost always will be the pastor, whatever. Now you tell me where that comes from. Is that God? Who do you think would be happier if you had a wedge between you and your pastor, God or Satan? Who do you think would be happier if you harbored evil thoughts or ill thoughts against your pastor, God or Satan? So if you have those thoughts, you need to say, something's wrong. And I got to get this thing corrected. Okay, God gave the pastor for a reason. Middle of page 16. Bible-believing churches understand this important role of pastor. It is one of the two main offices in a local church. They will do all they can to protect this office from men who do not value or honor it. As a church, you need to do that. You need to protect it. Okay, our church in Kingaroy, they've been without a pastor now, for 2 years, and we talk all the time. We're on the phone all the time. And there's been that temptation at times to just say, well, let's just get this guy. And we've always been able to talk through that, and I've always said, guys, it's not worth just getting a guy. Don't just get somebody. It's like some guy looking for a wife. Don't just go get a wife. You'll find one, but it won't be the one you need. Don't go just get a husband. You'll find one and he'll be a jerk. You want God's will in this matter. Don't just go get a pastor. Protect that office. It is incredibly valuable to you. And value it. And make sure that that person values it. There are guys who are hirelings. A Bible-believing church will love and respect the office of the pastor. They will love and respect the office of the pastor. Not much progress there today, huh? I'm going to stop because I don't want to get into the office of the deacon and not be able to finish. I think we can finish that in one go. I am way optimistic. Are there any questions? I mean, we've just gone at snail pace, so I don't think that I've gone too fast. But there might be questions on blanks or something that needs more clarity. It's good? It's all good. Good. Yeah. I need bionic eyes and a bionic brain. And a bionic mouth. I could use a bionic mouth. I'm going to tell on my wife, but this is a good thing. She'll probably hear me. She's been really tired this week, and we were having a conversation on Friday night, and she said something that was so off the wall. I said, "What?" And she said it again, and I said, "You mean?" And I corrected her. And I was so glad that I am not the only one who can't get the words straight and mixes them up and uses the wrong terms. Man, it's a blessing to know there's other people like that out there. All right, Father, please dismiss us with your blessing and bless the hour to come. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen.